Alright, guys, back again. So let's talk about Cape Fear from 1991, starring Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, Jessica Lange, and Juliette Lewis. And it's a first watch for me. I haven't seen the original movie. I want to now after watching this one. But this is, of course, a Martin Scorsese film. And it's one of those movies that I've wanted to see for a while. I really thought that it was an enticing looking movie by the poster alone, and it's been parodied before, like in like name, and I've seen like Cape Fear has been parodied with names for stuff I've seen before in my childhood. And I was really just fascinated by this because I wanted to see it because Robert De Niro is always great. I really like seeing Robert De Niro in anything. And I this year I watched the movie Tootsie with Jessica Lange that Dustin Hoffman stars in, and I saw that Jessica Lange was attached to this too. So I was like, ooh, cool, cool. Because Jessica Lange is an actress that I had seen only in, I believe, King Kong 1976. So I was like, I don't have much to go on with her as an actress. And there's so many good movies that people say she's great in. It just, the King Kong, the second remake of King Kong, or the first remake of King Kong, isn't one that I liked with her performance. I really didn't think she was that great from what I remember in that movie. But I really liked that she's in this as well because I really, really enjoyed her in this movie too. And like I said, the casting is really good. Like I said, Robert De Niro, awesome, and Jessica Lange is great. Nick Nolte, I have seen him in stuff, but it's weird because Nick Nolte is a human being that looks so different now than what he did in this movie. Like, he looks so drastically different, and it makes me kind of forget what movies he's been in. And tell me down below if there's any like big movies, because I know that I've probably seen him in other movies, but he just looks so weird. And I know for sure I have seen other movies with Nick Nolte, but he looks so different here that I'm kind of forgetting what he looks like now. But I know he looks so drastically different. And as well, this has Juliette Lewis in it as well, which is really cool because Juliette Lewis is an actress as well that I'm really liking in a lot of stuff. Like, I rewatched Ma this month and I really liked her in that movie a lot. I thought that she was really freaking good. And I always forget whenever I was younger, like watching Christmas Vacation, that she was the daughter in that movie. That's pretty funny. And I really like too that this movie nabbed Robert De Niro and Juliette Lewis Oscar nods because they both were so good in this movie. And you can really see what a talent Juliette Lewis is in this movie because that scene that they both have together in the auditorium is the best scene in the movie, I think. It really is enticing and really, really good. Like, it's so cool because the movie, if and I have not said the plot yet, but the movie is about this guy named Sam who lives with his wife Lee and sister Danielle, and he 14 years ago went up with Max Cady, Robert De Niro's character, and he could not save him from going to prison because of battery and rape assault that Robert De Niro's character Max Cady did to a girl. So Max Cady goes to prison, and then when he gets out 14 years later, he starts stalking the family of Sam. And that idea is pretty cool. I like that premise. That's a really good premise, and I think it's interesting. And the movie's directed by Scorsese, who I have seen not all of his stuff. There's still a lot that I need to see of Scorsese that I want to see. I do want to see all of his filmography. And everything I've seen him do, I think, like all the movies that I've seen Scorsese direct, I have either really liked or liked, and then there's one where I'm just like, or there's two movies where I'm like, this is not my thing, like Gangs in New York or Mean Streets. Those two are movies that I could not get into from what I remember whenever I saw them years ago. But I will give him another chance. But Scorsese, for the most part, from the movies I've seen of his, are pretty much close home runs. Like, there's a lot of good movies. Oh yeah, and also I watched New York, New York this month as well, which was a Scorsese movie with Robert De Niro as well and Eliza Minnelli. But I watched that movie as well, and it's one of those movies like Gangs in New York or Mean Streets where I'm like, it's fine. It's not like my favorite, but it's fine. It's not bad. It's not great. But so I've got 3 Scorsese movies I guess I've seen that are kind of just whatever to me. But the other ones that I've seen, I really, really like. I really love, genuinely. And I won't mention them all because there's a lot that I really like that he's done. But Scorsese in this one, the way he directs this movie, I have not seen, like I said, I haven't seen the original movie with Gregory Peck. I have not seen that one. I want to now. And it's funny to see the two actors from the original are make appearances in this movie. But I don't know. Like I don't know about the other movie. I don't know anything about it. I'm feeling it probably is close to this. Maybe not. I don't know. But just on this movie alone, I really like this movie. I think that the movie is a good movie and it is pretty effective. It works. It works in a lot of ways for me. I was genuinely enjoying it for the most part. I did think that on the acting alone, the acting is really what makes the movie for me. I really, really enjoyed all four of these leads. Like, they all are really good. Robert De Niro plays a role that doesn't feel like one that I've watched of his before. Like, he doesn't. It's weird. He's an intimidating character in this movie. He's scary, but he also says stuff in a goofy way where, like, he is dangerous, but he is really silly at the same time. And I haven't really, from what I remember, seen a De Niro movie that feels like that. For me personally, I don't know, and maybe there's other roles like this, but I haven't seen a Robert De Niro role where he's kind of schmaltzy, if that makes sense. Like, he's intimidating, but he also seems like a good guy, even though he does bad things in this movie. And again, that scene in the auditorium between him and Danielle, Juliette Lewis, it really shows how great of an actor Robert De Niro is, because in this movie you're meant to not like this guy, even though Sam messed up and, like, made him go to prison, but he did rape and battery, like, he did all this bad stuff. But Robert De Niro, Max Cady, like, there's moments, like I said, in the auditorium where you completely see behind this human being. Like, even though this is a horrible human being, it's kind of like he does a good job of making you genuinely feel for him, even though he's a bad person. And I really like that. I thought that was very well done. That was very effective and just really got me. Like I said, that's the best scene in the movie, and it's really, really good. And like I said, the rest of the movie is really, really effective. Like, I like how it builds on it very well with this character just coming back slowly coming and dealing with the family, talking to them, and then he slowly gets more and more crazy. And as the movie goes along, it does a good job of it. But I'd say if I had a negative for the movie, honestly, it's weird to say, I was really into the movie until the last act. And I don't mean to say that as in the last act is bad or not watchable. It's still fine. But the last act where they go away from, like, where they were, like the house and stuff, I felt like that was more effective. And I won't say where they go, but after they leave the house, the movie kind of changes. And Robert De Niro, while still good, kind of becomes a little too loony for me, if that makes sense. Like, there's moments where I'm just sitting there like, okay, you can tone it down just a tad. And I really don't want to say that, because like I said, Robert De Niro is a great actor, and he's great in this movie, but I just felt like towards the end of the movie, he got a little too loony, if that makes sense, like a little too goofy. But he was still intimidating, but he became a little more goofy. And it's just so interesting watching the difference between the first two acts of him and then the last act. It seems kind of different to me. And it's not like a big complaint. It's just like, I felt like it lost a little bit of steam going into the end. And I'm really wondering if the original movie follows the same story as this, which I'm assuming it will follow it probably pretty close. I'm going to see how the last act works for me on that movie, because this last act I thought was fine, but I felt like it was a little less, like, I liked it a little less than the rest of the movie. But like I said, it's not like I disliked it. I just thought, oh, it's a little downgrade. It's not as interesting of an execution of an ending for me. But it still works. The movie still is a great movie. It's still a really solid movie. On my Letterboxd, I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, which, based on the acting alone, the writing, The suspense, the tension. I thought it was worth that. It's definitely not my favorite Scorsese movie, but I like it way more than, like I said, New York, New York, uh, Gangs of New York, and what's the other one I mentioned? Mean Streets. Those three are the ones that I thought were teetering on whatever for me. But this is way better than that. But it's definitely not as good as movies that I've seen of his, like Taxi Driver or Silence. But most movies aren't. So I thought that this movie was really, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really solid movie. Like I said, it's definitely worth watching. I think it's a really good movie. Like I said, the end kind of loses it a little bit for me, but still, it's a solid, great movie. Like it works in a lot of ways. So I really am glad I finally got to see this one. So pretty much that's it. That's it on what I could say about Cape Fear. So tell me down below what, if you guys have seen Cape Fear, what you guys think of it, and thank you guys for watching.